This painting is called Kuan Yin and the Panda Saints. I wrote a little fairy tale with it, a children's story. I'll share it with you. There once lived a princess in her father's palace. Even though the palace was filled with many beautiful gems and shiny gold materials, nonetheless, whenever she walked around the palace, she noticed that all of her father's workers, all the servants and the staff, that everybody had eyes that were unfriendly. Sometimes they would look at individuals who seemed to have more than they did, finer clothes, a better vocabulary, and their eyes were filled with fear and desire. And then she would look at those same eyes, who then would look at other individuals whose clothes weren't as nice, weren't as expensive. And then their eyes were filled with something worse: disdain, contempt. Everybody was unhappy. This is what she told her father over breakfast tea. Her father was distressed by this because he had created this entire palace so that her daughter would be happier. For the next day, he thought about what she said, and he walked around his palace, and behind concealed walls were lace curtains. Unseen, he would look at all of his servants, all of his friends, who during the day offered him nothing but smiles, and sure enough, he saw how she had been correct. Those who worked for him, their eyes were filled with anything but content. They were angry at people who were less fortunate than them, or disdainful and fearful of people more fortunate. The next morning, over breakfast tea, he got up from the end of his table. He walked down to where his daughter was sitting, and he sat next to her. And he said, "Tell me, my angel, what do you want?" She looked into his eyes for a full 10 seconds. And then she said, "I would like to be with people who are beautiful and strong. People who, when they look at their life, are filled with happiness and gratitude." He breathed in very deeply. He unfolded his hands. He pressed the palms against the table and pushed himself up. And he said, "I think I know such people. Come with me." He walked out the door while she followed him. They walked down the corridor toward the throne room, and just before they entered the throne room, he turned left rather than right. He pushed on a panel against the wall that opened into a doorway. She followed him through, and the door closed behind them, and they were in complete darkness. Then she heard him say, "Now let me see, where did I put that light?" Then she heard 2 rocks clicking together, and as they clicked, bright sparks appeared. Then they went out. They clicked again, more bright sparks, but this time the sparks caught the end of a torch, which ignited into a large flame. She looked around and she saw that they were in a cave, a circular corridor cut out of rock. They were inside of a mountain. He walked, and she followed, for what seemed many, many, many minutes, going down passage after passage, until finally she saw a brilliant green light far in the distance. As they walked closer, she could hear birdsong and waterfalls, until finally they came into the full light of day, and she was standing in a bamboo forest, brilliant green, squinting her eyes. She looked around, and she saw panda bears lying on the ground eating bamboo shoots. And he said, I promise you, if you spend time every day with these panda saints, you will find that all of your stressful thoughts, all of that heavy weight inside your chest, it will disappear. She looked into her father's eyes and she said, Father, is life really that simple? He looked back at his daughter, and he recalled from the days of her birth how she used to be a swaddling baby in white diapers who would look up into his eyes, giggling and gurgling. And he nodded. Yes, life is really that simple, my angel. And then she took his advice, and she sat down amongst the panda bears, and she noticed that the chest began to feel lighter. She could breathe deeper. And then she noticed that she was chuckling.